I guess your mindset, the mindset in general, just going into the test and I guess staying positive throughout the whole thing and how you were able to accomplish that and actually, I guess how you tackle difficult questions. So I think that would be in a 30-minute meeting, the I guess the barriers that I mean, personally, the barriers that I have to break through when I'm either testing or drilling or doing what I'm doing for the exam.
Those are big questions, but they're definitely ones that I can address and work with you on. And first off, I do want to say that I did not necessarily stay positive the entire time I was LSAT. I mean, I was at it for an entire year. So, and this exam is one of those exams that is really good at making smart people feel stupid. So you're not alone if you have times where you're feeling a little bit down about it. It's just about getting back on the horse when you fall off, and you're going to fall off a lot. I mean, this exam is complex, it's difficult, and so it will trick you sometimes. And I guess the way to approach it is, rather than being angry with the exam or trying to argue with it, just kind of respecting that it got the better of you, because they are really good at what they do. And so I think a healthy respect for the test makers is extremely important.
Yeah.
But then also be proud of yourself when you get questions right, when you spot those tricks or traps.
Yeah.
They have a wide variety of tricks they can throw at you, and you're not falling for every single one of those, or else you'd be getting a 120. And so presumably you're doing better than that. There are some tricks that you fall for, some you don't. It's about spotting the patterns in the ones that you do fall for, analyzing them in excruciating detail so that you can avoid making the same mistakes in the future.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that helps a lot.
Awesome. And then in terms of mindset, I mean, sorry, go ahead, please.
No, what were you saying?
In terms of mindset, I guess keeping in mind, what are your goals for this? I mean, why are you going to law school?
I guess I got interested, through a couple different avenues. I was producing content for Cheech and Chong, and I got into the world of cannabis, and I became friends with some cannabis lawyers in LA, and they kind of convinced me to go down that path, since it was going to be, it's becoming like a popular market for Los Angeles and for especially the West Coast. But I got into that, and then I thought, well, I have this strong entertainment background, so I might as well have options, either entertainment or cannabis. I'm just not really sure yet. I guess those are like champagne problems. I guess the first step is like overcoming this test and getting through it, and then making that decision, I guess, along the way, or however it's made. I'm not sure even how one makes that decision. Like, how do you decide? Do you go to law school and say, I'm going to practice this kind of law? I mean, I have family members who are lawyers, but I was too young for them for I guess, to understand how they got into the law that they got into. They're in like antitrust law. So I don't know how one stumbles upon getting into that kind of law, but entertainment and cannabis for sure are my interests.
Cool. Well, those sound like those are definitely fun and exciting and growth industries, and sounds like you have some connections in the industry already. So
yeah,
given that, you have good reasons for going to law school, you have an interest, you have experience, and this test is just one hoop you have to jump through. So you can make the best of it, but at least you have an idea of why you want to go, which is really important. To answer your question more broadly, some people have a particular niche or industry in mind before they start. Others don't, and learn along the way. And that's fine. There's no right or wrong way to go about it, as long as you have some real world exposure to what law is actually like, aside from just watching it on TV. And it sounds like you have more than that. So, and some lawyers. So definitely talking with lawyers about this before going in is a good thing to do, just to get a sense of what it's actually like. Like, it's not always, impassioned courtroom speeches, but it sounds like you know more about it than that. So I think at least your head's in the right place on it.
Yeah. They're telling me that it's just a lot of driving around from location to location and meeting with people and I guess just dealing with cannabis in entertainment. From what I experienced, they did a lot of clearance work. So I guess with it's basically just if you're working with brands and television shows. So if you're going to blow out a label or not, to put it simply, and that's just a lot of office work and emails and stuff like that. And then cannabis, my friends were telling me that it's just a lot of going from business to business, dealing with city stuff and ordinances and all that stuff. And no grand monologue in a courtroom amongst a jury, and none of that. That's they're telling me. So I understand that for sure. I'm not going to trial law defending O.J. Simpson here or something. So
good, awesome. And so I think it sounds like you got a lot of positivity around the practice of law and going into the industry. And so this exam, of course, is a little bit different because it is being alone. The exam is not the most entertaining exam, although it can be once you understand it better. And so I think it's about, in a way, finding the fun in it and finding the ways that the tools you can use to break it down. Because there's a certain fun involved in breaking it down. Like we said, like spotting the traps, like dodging them like a ninja. And then there's also deconstructing the exam too, because there's layers upon layers upon layers. And so if you can have some fun breaking it down, that's really important to do as well.
Yeah. The
that idea going in.
Yeah. The logical, the reading comprehension is not that much of a challenge for me. I mean, it's not out of the sections. It's definitely the one that it's not easiest for me. It's all difficult, but it's just, I read it and I retain as much as I can and that, but the struggle definitely comes from logical reasoning and the logic games and what you're saying before, deconstructing it. And I see it. I see that there's something there, but there's certain things I'm just not grasping yet. And that's the most difficult part for sure for me right now in my struggles. So
how many games have you done?
Well, I guess, the way that I was going about it at first, I've watched some of your stuff and you would definitely disagree with what I'm about to say, but I went right into testing and I took a diagnostic at first. And that was I did one that was timed and one that was untimed. And wow, that was a struggle. Both of them were, the timed one was pretty funny. I was like, how do people do this? How did they get through this? I didn't know, I didn't have any strategy to skipping questions. I found myself stuck on a question for 6 or 7 minutes in logical reasoning. And it was just, it was a nightmare. And then I got through it and then I did an untimed one, but both were not desirable scores. And I did that at first. And I probably in total have done about maybe 10 or 11 sections worth of games. And then for logical reasoning, that times 2, I guess. So.
Okay, good. So it's good enough to get a sense of the variety of things that are tested on this exam.
Yeah.
That's a start. But it's funny because that's a lot of work. No joke. I respect that. If each section's 35 minutes and maybe you spend a bit longer on it, that's hours of work.
Oh yeah. Like one game once took me like 50 minutes. I was like, how do because I'm not understanding the language. I wouldn't understand that all means any. Like any and all mean the same thing. So I'm just like, well, if any, at least one. It's like no, but any and all mean the same. So I'm like stuck on one question for 10 minutes, and I'm just going back to it was the beginning was definitely a disaster, and then listening to you, I was just like, okay, I need to research some stuff and learn how to do these things, and there's definitely a method to all of this stuff, and I need to learn that before I get into anything else. I stopped what I was doing. It was about a month of that, and I stopped immediately. So
good. So you do need a plan of attack. Like you can't just do exam after exam and measure your results. So it's good that you're slowing down and going to go about it more systematically in the future. But it's also good that you got some exposure. And you didn't burn through all the exams. You did like maybe 10 or so altogether, which is a good start. But then nice thing is there's nearly 100 released exams. Yeah. And some lawyers, so that they do lots of paperwork, countless hours with those books. And it's the same thing with the LSAT. The LSAT's good training just in terms of the endurance of how much you go through. And so the patterns in games, the patterns in logical reasoning, because the LSAT is, like I said, it's pattern recognition, seeing the traps and seeing what types of things they're talking about, what they're asking you, so that when you see it on test day, it won't be your first time interpreting that method of reasoning or making that kind of logic games diagram. It's more like, oh, this relates to that other game I did a little while ago. So you have it built in, kind of like someone who drives, if you're parallel parking, to reinvent the wheel and parallel park for the first time on a busy New York City street is going to be pretty brutal. Much easier to do it dozens and dozens of times in an empty parking lot first, right?
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah.
So it's the same thing. And so just kind of part of the fun to me, especially with games, it's nice in a way that reading comp you're already pretty good on, because that's the hardest section to improve significantly upon. Games is the most unfamiliar at first, but is actually much easier to improve upon because it's so unfamiliar. So just do dozens of games, see their patterns, do them by type at first, then in mixed sections. But you'll see those patterns and see how they relate. And so when you're setting up a new one, you're not reinventing the wheel. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
But that can be fun to see, oh, this is that kind of game. This is this kind of diagram. And then if you really want to have some fun with it, I was talking with a student earlier about this, writing your own logic games can be a lot of fun.
Oh, God. Yeah. Like that seems like, I feel like I'd have so many holes in my, so many mistakes in there. But yeah, you're right. Like there's definitely, I'm going to get to that point because they're so much fun when I start, as I'm starting to understand them more, I'm realizing how it's like a puzzle piece, it's like it fits all together and it's relieving for sure. It's a lot of fun.
It does fit together. And of course there are holes at first, but then filling those holes is part of your learning process.
Yeah.
Just like if you're doing drills or doing actual games and you're making mistakes, there's like a hole left in your reasoning there too. And on your review process, you're filling it in. And so if you write your own little mini drill or you eventually write your own actual game, it's a lot of work. It takes hours, but those hours are filling in the holes. And I wasn't writing games till I started teaching this exam, but it would take me like 4 or 5 hours at minimum to write a single game. Like it was a lot of work, but in the holes I learned a lot. Like I definitely learned a lot as an instructor just from doing that. And then I probably did like a half dozen games of my own. And so it's a valuable exercise. Writing logical reasoning, that's even harder because of the nuances and complexities of language there too. So I'm not saying that you necessarily need to do that, but thinking about how they tweaked the wrong answer to make it wrong is really important because one little word makes all the difference. And you could think, oh, those sneaky bastards, how did they do that?
Yeah.
But it's good. There's a certain magic that they have that is worthy of respect,
Oh yeah, it's incredible what these people are doing. Like, have you had any on your podcast at all?
I have actually. Yeah, I'll send you the links later. I've become friends with guys who used to write the actual LSAT questions. I've had a couple of discussions with him, and you could tell just in the way that he talks that he's on this other LSAT level,
Oh my God, yeah, that sounds so. I can't. How do they do that? Like they just. It's so one word changes everything. It's incredible.
First off, they're philosophy PhDs, so that already tells you something. That already tells you something. Like if you've like ever taken any philosophy class, you've read philosophy. Like it's dense text, right?
Oh my God, yeah. I'm just sometimes I find myself on autopilot, just like I haven't understood anything that I just read in the last like 3 minutes.
Exactly. I kept flipping the pages, but if you asked me what I read, I couldn't tell you, right? So it's like it takes them an entire paragraph for what other people would take a single sentence. Yeah.
Oh God, how do they do that?
Well, philosophy is like the ultimate legalese, right? So
yeah.
So there's something there. So I definitely listen to the podcasts with him, or there's also YouTube videos with him. And I actually have a book of interviews with him too. And you're looking for that top score. Seeing the way the test makers construct the exam is really insightful. Yeah.
I'm definitely going to look into that. It's like they're like, I'm like, who are these people? It's like they're hiding, It's like, where are they coming from? Like, who are these people making these these questions?
They are hiding. They don't want their houses getting egged on Halloween.
Yeah, exactly. They're masters at it. They really are.
Yeah, they are. And so I think that you're looking for a top score. There's like First level is just learning the different question types, ordering games, grouping games, strengthening questions, flaw questions, and so on. Then there's learning techniques to apply to the questions. But beyond that is understanding why the strategies work the way they do. And that involves some of the formulas underlying sufficient assumption questions or parallel questions or inference questions, and then kind of reverse engineering those patterns and those formulas. Like I always liken it to back in math class. I remember like high school math, they have the textbook where they tell you how the formula is derived. And like, that's all the theory that like you never want to read that because it's so dense. It's like, just give me the formula, let me plug in the numbers and solve it. And so that's like enough. That was like enough for high school. But then like for the LSAT, if you really want to get the top score, it's really seeing why the formula works the way it does, how they derived it initially, and then over time, again and again and again, mapping the words and the logical reasoning stimulus onto this formula, like evidence plus sufficient assumption equals conclusion. But then beyond that, all those multiple conditional statements within the stimulus, how each part relates, like which part's evidence, which part's conclusion, which part's the second piece of evidence that adds to the first, and so on. There's a lot of that. And so you just start with the easiest and move up from there.
Yeah. That's good advice. It's been learning how to deconstruct these things, and like you're saying, just like the engineering of all of this is just oh man, it's tough. It's tough.
It is. Yeah. We just have to break it down. So if there's like 3 major game types and maybe 15 different logical reasoning types, just doing them first by type, kind of learning the theory. So I guess there's like 5 stages I'll go through. First is learning the theory. So just learning the theory, reading the fundamentals, reading about the strategies and the question types. Second is accuracy, doing questions by type, untimed. Then there's individual sections. Then there's full-length exams to build your endurance. Then there's review. So it's a 5-step process. The acronym is LASER. It's like a laser approach to studying, learning, accuracy, sections, exams, and review. This is your plan of attack to go about it, not just doing tons of sections, not doing every exam from number 1 to 87 one by one over the next 87 days. Definitely not that. It's really just doing maybe you do 1 timed exam a week, starting from the 60s up to the 80s, but maybe doing only the even numbered exams so you save the odd numbered ones in the event that you want to retake. So let me ask you, when are you taking the LSAT? Are you scheduled?
November 22nd.
Nice. Okay, good. So you got some time. You got about 4 months. That's enough time to make anything happen, really.
Oh, okay, good. That's good to know, because I'm just like, well, I've made progress, but it's definitely, it's like doomsday, November 22nd for me. It's how it feels like right now. So but yeah, I'm planning on taking it November 22nd, and then I will, no matter what I get, I'll probably retake it again, just because. And like in January 16th, I think is the other date that I was looking at. But yeah, but November 22nd for sure is the day.
Nice, awesome. So you have enough time to slow down, just go through each of these 5 phases, start off just learning the basics and doing some untimed questions by type, then move into the timing after you give yourself the chance to learn the fundamentals. And like I said, definitely you do want to save a handful of recent exams for potential retake. And retaking is worth it because law schools don't average multiple scores. They only take the highest. And even if you didn't improve your understanding at all, through luck alone, you could do 3-4 points better. And that opens more doors too. And if not, no big deal.
Yeah, that's good. That's hopefully that happens, or hopefully I score well on the first one, and then I could just use that score and move on. But I'm hoping. I really am. And you would suggest learning the basics, obviously, which is. Do you have any sources? I mean, I know you have stuff. I want to do your games, like I know that you offer $1,000 to find the
exactly, to find the flaw. any mistakes in them. Yeah, there's no mistake.
No, I want to do. I definitely want to. Are they on your blog, on your website?
Yeah, they're on there. Yeah, under the games, go to free stuff and then the games tab.
All right, cool. And in terms of like I guess like programming for like all this stuff, like what should I do? I mean, how can we like work together, and how can we do this?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of resources, just how to learn the basics, of course, I've got study plans on the site. I have full courses as well. The courses involve on-demand video as well as live online classes. So those are opportunities to learn the basics. And then, of course, there's also all the released exams. There's 87 numbered ones, a handful of unnumbered ones. Those are the best practice material that you could have. If you're interested in continuing with me for one-on-one coaching, we could certainly discuss that as well. I'm happy to do that. And it's really about hitting the books over the next 3-4 months to make it happen.
Yeah. Any suggestions on books, or do you have any books, or you write anything?
I have some guys. They're pretty bite-sized, though. I'm not into writing the 500-page textbooks. If you're looking for that, though, there are some great ones out there. I mean, there's the Power Score Bibles. There's the LSAT Trainer. There's Ellen Cassidy's Loophole in Logical Reasoning. Those are all really great resources as well, and I can send you links on those if you have trouble finding them or want the exact thing.
I just read the Power Score Logical Reasoning Bible. I just finished that, and it was good. It helped a lot. It really did. It was interesting. And you think what do you think the LSAT Trainer is better than the Power Score Bible, or do you think like
they're just different? I mean, at a certain level, if you're using niche LSAT materials, meaning you're using materials from a boutique company that specializes in the LSAT, then you really can't go wrong, and it becomes a matter of personal preference. Like I wouldn't use Barron's or LSAT for Dummies or anything like that. But once you're at the level of using Power Score, LSAT Trainer, or like the Loophole book, like they're all good. It's just a matter of picking and choosing what you like from each, but neither one's right or wrong. They each have their pros and cons. I mean, if you've gone through the Power Score, you may agree. I'm curious to hear your take on this in terms of potential over categorization of different questions. I feel like that's where they go.
Yeah.
I think, and you'll notice that especially if you do their games book.
Oh, I haven't checked their games book, but for sure felt that way with the Logical Reasoning Bible. I was like, I guess like they had like I looked at your cheat sheet, and it was just so much more comprehensive than what they were doing. I mean, they had like must be true assumption, like they like all these like all these things that were put together, and I was just like, how do they? It was just it was an over categorization of the question stems and the question types for sure, and it was still a good read, but definitely for sure.
Yeah, so insights you like from one, you leave the stuff that you don't like, and so that's why I think reading multiple sources is good, and you can just learn more from each. If a book gives you one insight, it was well worth the purchase price and the time invested.
Yeah. What would you suggest? I guess in my case, what would you suggest? So learning the basics. When would you suggest in my time frame to start taking untimed exams or timing and all that stuff?
I would say give yourself at least a few weeks to learn the fundamentals. And then after that, start integrating one timed exam per week or so. And that could be one a week. That could be one every 10 days. And then you increase frequency up to become one per week if you're not there. Okay. If you're not there at the start. But one per week is good enough, especially over the course of 2 to 3 months. That'll let you get 10, 15 exams under your belt. And I do recommend ideally a minimum of 10 timed exams. Yeah. That way, test A is just another practice test.
Yeah, that's true. And okay, I guess what is your mindset when you approach a question? This is like one thing that it's so hard for me to get over right now, or it was because I've stopped drilling and stuff like that, or taking or time sections or something like that. But when you come across the question that is just, you just look at it and you're like, there's no, like, especially for time, like, do you just completely skip it and immediately like, okay, I'm not gonna mess with this question right now? Or
yeah, I do. I would flag, typically in logical reasoning, I might flag 3 or 4 questions that are just too tough to deal with them in the moment. Maybe I don't like the topic. Maybe it's a really long parallel question. Maybe it's too abstractly worded and it's not clicking for me. I'll just flag it and come back to it later. And on the digital LSAT, that's really easy. They actually have a flagging function on the digital LSAT so that you can see at a glance all the questions you flagged, and then just with one tap of the stylus, go back to that question. Really cool.
Do you think they're going to, I guess, like, do you think they'll lower because it sounds like the digital LSAT saves minutes for people, which is obviously crucial. Do you think they'll compromise? They'll just say, okay, now the time sections are 30 minutes instead of 35.
No, they're not going to change the timing. And you're right that you do save time because of the being able to jump around, being able to flag things, and the bubbling. The bubbling is the biggest time saver. Rather than spending gridding in like an oval with a number 2 pencil, you bubble by tapping your stylus.
Oh my God.
So with 100 ovals, 100 bubbles, that does add up.
Wow. That's a time saver.
That's awesome. I mean, but there are also like some downsides to the digital LSAT. Like you can only see one question at a time. You can't see the entire reading comp passage at once. So I think it kind of becomes a wash.
Yeah, that's true. I could see that being, because you can just like skip a question, go back. Yeah, it's like you can see what you're. Oh, would you suggest reading the question stem first, or no?
I think it doesn't matter. It's a great question. I think it doesn't matter that much. There are plenty of people who with top scores on both sides of this debate who have different answers and still do great. So I think just try out both, see what works for you. Personally, I do question stem first, but I used to do stimulus first.
Oh, really?
But I found that even when I thought I was doing stimulus first, I was still kind of going back and forth between them multiple times. So it kind of didn't really matter at the end.
I would say that, like, I mean, that reading the question stem would, especially for logical reasoning, it would help most because you know what you're looking for immediely.
Exactly. That's my thought too.
Yeah. So it just seems that, instead of reading the question, I mean, you can come up with an answer on your own. You can do all these things if you read the question stem first, you know exactly what you're looking for. I mean, it seems like the most sense, but then I see these ridiculous debates on Reddit that are just like, oh, don't do it, and then in the super prep book, they're like, don't read the question stems first. But I mean, so I'm just like, I don't know who. So I'm just, getting your opinion on that is definitely helpful since you're a top scorer and you say that you read the question stem first, and it's more comfortable for me. So I wasn't sure if I was doing the wrong thing and if I shouldn't be comfortable doing it, or if you do it, then it's definitely for sure a thing and not just.
Well, to me, what matters most is that it feels most comfortable for you.
Yeah.
If it feels comfortable, if it feels natural and you're doing well, then there's no reason to do anything other than that.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. That's good to know. That's for sure good to know.
Well, we covered a lot. We covered a lot here. What would you say is the biggest insight you got from our session today?
I guess, laser.
Nice.
Laser for sure is definitely something that is going to stick with me for my duration of my studies. And it's, and just your insight in general about learning the methods first, your parallel parking analogy. I'm going to remember that for a very long time. And it's just, rest assured that I need to learn these things first. And then, and once I do, then seeing the engineering of all these questions, then I'll be better off that way instead of just going off and doing timed section after timed section or timed exam and digging myself into a deeper hole of the verbose confusion of these people writing the questions and stimulus and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely your insight for all of this is super helpful for sure. And I'm gonna look at your logic games and your explanations and all these things too. That will help a lot, I'm sure. So
great. I'm really glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it was helpful. Now, you asked about working with me going forward and using my resources and such. Do you have any questions on where to start with that?
I guess I wonder what would be best for me if your courses. Send me a link to all this stuff, and I definitely am interested in. I need to I need to see how you do these things, how you break problems down, and how you just work through each question, or the tough ones especially.
Great. And then then also I have the study plans, detailed day-by-day study plans. There are some on the website that you can go out and check out right now. Then there are also, with the course, I have a special version of those that helps you use the course lessons in conjunction with the articles on my site and the video lessons inside the course as well. You could relate the chapters of like the logical reasoning or the games to what you're doing as well with the prep tests.
Awesome. Yeah. And the courses in the city, where are they? Are they in Brooklyn, or are they?
They're in Brooklyn. They're at my office in downtown Brooklyn, right near, it's kind of fairly close to Atlantic Barclays, right across from City Point.
Yeah. Cause dude, your information is so, it's so great. I mean, especially with all the other people, as I researched the other people out there, and it's, yeah, I think at least you seem like the most comprehensible, like in my opinion. So it's just like someone that it should, and if the live courses, the quality is there. Thank you for inviting me to it and having me there and stuff. It's definitely something I'm interested in, and whatever I can do to improve.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I really appreciate it. I'll send you details now, and I'll look forward to meeting you in person.
Thank you. Yeah, no, this is incredible. Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.